Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the planning board meeting of April 28th. I'm Carol Lisbon, Chair of the Dover Planning Board. I'm going to take a roll call vote. George Sidgwick,
Here.
Bill Motley,
Here.
and Katie Williams.
Here.
Great, thank you very much. This meeting is being conducted through a webinar on Zoom. The information is on the agenda on the Dover website to get in. And we ask that you stay on mute until and if you wish to speak when your agenda item comes up. We start the meeting with a citizens comment section. Are there any citizens on tonight who would like to make a comment unrelated to an agenda item? I don't see anything. Jody, Jasmine, do you see anybody?
No. Jody's in now, by the way.
Okay, we did a roll call vote, so I'm just gonna vote, do another addendum to the roll call vote. Jody Shu?
Here, sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so seeing no citizens requesting a comment, we're going to go to agenda item number 2A, which is approval of the minutes of first March 24th. Those were conveyed to you in the meeting package over the weekend. Do we have any edits or adjustments?
None for me, thank you.
Okay, seeing none, I'm going to move to approve the minutes of March 24th, 2025 as submitted. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Jody?
Yes.
I'm yes. Bill?
Yes.
And George?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. The next minutes are those of April 14th. They were not in the package, but they're short and we're going to Jasmine pull them up and give you a quick moment to take a look at them. Oh, this still shows all my comments. Okay. So Jasmine, did you address my comment? Or should we hold these till the next meeting? Jasmine, are you there? Okay, I'm gonna hold this till the next meeting or maybe later in the meeting, depending on the timing. We're going to go to the next item, which is a site plan review at 16 Craw Drive. Jasmine, are you there? Okay. Wait a minute.
Sorry, yes, sorry, I'm just pulling up the site plan.
Okay.
Okay, there we
Well, while we're doing that, who do we have? Do we have anybody on tonight from 16 Craw Drive? I see the Billers.
go. Ask them to unmute. Give me just a moment. Okay, they are allowed to speak.
Hey. So the Billers that are on tonight. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
thank you.
Would you like to just give a very quick overview of your application and your greenhouse request?
I thought it was pretty obvious. I just want to build my greenhouse, 12 by 24 in my backyard. I've sent, I think, everything pretty well explained in my application. And we're really hopeful that you all will accept it so we can get started.
Okay, thank you, Toby. Jasmine, would you like to go through your a review of this using the preliminary site plan review decision?
Yes, please. So this is a site plan review to construct a 12 foot, 8.5 inch by 24 foot and 11 inch greenhouse. The preliminary site plan review was received April 1st, and the site plan is by Cheney Engineering dated April 1st. The application does comply with the dimensional requirements of a greenhouse. As an accessory structure, the setbacks are half of the required setback at 15.5 feet. It does meet that half setback to the rear line. The existing driveway opening will not be relocated during construction. The greenhouse will not have an impact on traffic. The existing parking is adequate to serve the use. The proposed greenhouse appears to be in kind with the existing neighborhood. It's unlikely the structure will have detrimental impact on surrounding premises. The structure is designed consistent with the character of the neighborhood. And while it may have impacts on the open space and natural landscape, it should be mitigated through stormwater bylaw chapter 159. The proposed greenhouse will have impacts on natural resources and open space and is subject to stormwater chapter 159. The proposed structure does not impact town resources. The greenhouse is proposed on a location on the property that is conducive to the appearance and arrangement of the other structures on the lot, and it does comply with the requirements of the zoning bylaw.
Thank you. Do any members of the planning board have any questions about this application?
Seems like a straightforward one.
I agree.
Haven't had too many greenhouses in my time.
Okay, well, seeing no objections and seeing how this application certainly adheres to everything that we look at, I'm going to make a motion and read the decision. So after considering the application and are we getting feedback from someone? Okay.
Oh, looks like she got it.
After considering the application and other materials submitted at its meeting of April 28th, 2025, the board approved the plans entitled Proposed Greenhouse Plan 16 Craw Drive with the following conditions. 1, prior to the issuance of a building permit, minor modifications to the site plan may be approved administratively by the planning board chair. 2, any future modifications to the site shall be reviewed and approved by the planning board. 3, the lighting on the site must not spill over onto any adjoining property. 4, the site is subject to review by the Board of Health. And 5, the site is subject to stormwater bylaw chapter 159 review by the Department of Public Works. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Hi, Val.
Hi.
So let the roll call vote, the roll call be amended to include Val Lynn present. Val, do you have any questions before we go on?
No.
Okay. In that case, I'll take the roll call vote. Val,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jody. I know Jody's been having some problems here. She's connecting. And Carol. Yes, so let's do a vote of 4-0 on this one. So, Toby, thank you very much and good luck with the greenhouse.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Send
Thank you.
Send pictures,
yeah.
vegetables,
I
flowers.
will. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, have a good evening.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay, the next site plan review is 81 Springdale, which is for a pool. And who do we have on tonight representing either Pools by Andrews or the Hands? Anybody?
I see Tyler Andrews. Let me just allow them to speak.
That would be Pools by Andrews.
Hello.
Hi, Tyler. How are you this evening?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. So would you just like to give a quick review
Yes.
of your application? Appreciate it.
Yes, we're looking to install a 10-foot by 25-foot in-ground gunite swimming pool. We are doing a paver patio around it and an automatic pool cover. The homeowner is already under contract with a fence company to put a pool compliant fence around the whole pool perimeter, not up against the house. We meet setbacks off of the septic and leach field and the front, rear, side, and off of the existing structure for setbacks.
Okay, thank you very much. Jasmine, would you like to quickly go through the your approval decision, unless there are any questions for Tyler by planning board members?
Is there any lighting for the pool?
Yes, there is one 5G white LED pool light that will be in.
Okay, Jasmine, would you like to go through the decision, please?
Yes, please. So this is for site plan review, preliminary site plan review for a 10-foot by 25-foot gunite pool with landscaping and patio. The pool will be installed at ground level. We received this application April 15th, 2025, and the site plan is by PJF and Associates from September 25th, revised through March 24th. The application does comply with dimensional requirements for a pool. The existing driveway will not be disturbed by the proposed use, and the pool is not a traffic generating use. The existing parking is adequate to serve the single family use, and the pool does not have impact on parking or loading. The proposed patio and fencing material appear to be in kind with the existing property and neighborhood. It's unlikely the structure will have a detrimental impact on the surrounding premises and is consistent with the neighborhood. The structure is designed consistent with the character of the neighboring structures. It will have impact on open space and is subject to Stormwater Bylaw Chapter 159. The proposed pool will have impacts on natural resources and open space and is subject to Stormwater Bylaw Chapter 159. The structure does not impact town resources. The pool will not interrupt the harmony of the existing buildings. The application does comply with the requirement of the zoning bylaws. And that's it for that.
Okay, any further questions before I read the motion and ask for a vote? Okay, let me read the motion then. After considering the application and other materials submitted at its meeting of April 28th, 2025, the board approved the plans entitled Plot Plan of Land 81 Springdale Avenue with the following conditions. 1. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, minor modifications to the site plan may be approved administratively by the planning board chair. 2. Any future modifications to the site shall be reviewed and approved by the planning board. 3. The lighting on the site must not spill over onto any adjoining property. 4. The pool must be filled by a water truck. 5. The site is subject to review by the Board of Health. And 6. The site is subject to Stormwater Bylaw Chapter 159 review by the Department of Public Works. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor. Jody,
Yes.
Val,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Andrews.
Thank you so much.
Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Hey, the next item on the agenda, item number 2D, is a continuation from our last meeting with a site plan review for 283 Dedham Street. And I see that Mr. Signorella is here again this evening. Is there
Yes,
anybody
ma'am.
else?
Good evening.
Good evening. Is there anybody else with me tonight?
Yes, we have Nick Courtney of Merrill Engineer for a, I guess, backup in case any civil questions come up.
Okay, very good.
Paul, would you
Okay.
like to share the screen or would you like me to?
Either or. I'm actually on my laptop. I'm currently on a family vacation, but I can share or you can share
certainly pull
because I
them up
brought up.
and give me just a moment.
Thank you very much.
So while we're waiting for that, thank you very much for providing the additional information that we discussed at our previous meeting. It was much appreciated.
Yes, not a problem at all. Anything to try and help explain what we're doing. I understood once I read the application that you did require colored renderings, so we provided as many views as possible.
It's amazing what can be done now.
Yes, yes. I was actually dumbfounded myself because I've seen some pretty good renderings, but they went above and beyond on these ones.
Certainly.
Carol, I was opening the site plan. Did you want me to start with the renderings? Sorry.
Yes, I think so, because
Okay.
am I correct, that the revised site plans do not, let me rephrase it. Do the revised site plans have any substantive impact on the criteria that the planning board is involved with relative to its site plan review?
No, it does not. The barn says not change size. That's correct, right?
Right, right.
Correct.
So in that case, why don't we just go right to the renderings then?
Okay, perfect. I'll just pull those up then. Save us some time since those plans are large anyway. Okay, so I believe this is the main, what you would see from the main road.
This is a rear, so the lights on the left-hand side, if you look in the top left of the rendering, that's where the driveway would enter the property. And that's the parking turnaround area where you see the lights on the left-hand side. So this would actually be a rear-facing shot of the barn.
Okay, so we're facing the road.
We're facing towards the left. If you're looking at plan view, we're facing the left-hand opposing lot and the driveway.
Okay. Did you want me to go through to the next one?
Yes, please, yep.
And that is from the upper lot where the proposed rebuild of the farmhouse would be, looking down onto the lower lot. This is from the front right side, so the driveway would, it's just a lower view of the first one, as if you were standing on grade.
Okay,
This is coming in from the driveway, so we have all low beam downlighting on the side of the building and then shielded gooseneck downlights for the turnaround parking.
and that turnaround parking is now going to be gravel. Is that correct?
Correct, gravel or some impermeable or
impervious.
permeable substance.
Yep.
Yes. And we also took into consideration, we downsized the parking lot, I believe some as well. We got rid of the parking lines and tightened it up a bit and changed out the asphalt to give it more of a natural look to it.
So you're now down to how many spots?
Nick, do you know how many we cut down to? Did we remove 2?
I need to allow him to speak, sorry.
Hello?
Yes, now we can hear you,
Hello?
Nick.
All right. Sorry. Nick Courtney with Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. Just to provide some more information about the parking. We had 10 spaces before, proposed bituminous concrete. Now it's going to be 8 spaces with no parking lines as gravel. And the turnaround area will remain.
Okay, thank you. So I'll open this up to questions from the planning board.
Carol, will there, I have a question. Will there be any vehicles stored inside? I can't recall if that was a question previously asked.
Not that's been divulged to us. When I said vehicles, I guess I was talking out of school before. I was just trying to list hobbies. As of right now, the only thing that's been told to us by our clients is that it will not be used for an ADU. or a commercial capacity, but they're into woodworking and gardening. So as of right now, it's mostly storage, and they're going to have a small study and library in there.
Mm.
There was also a question about the bathroom configuration, I believe.
Yes. So it is half baths. There's two half baths, one on the first and one on the second, and one of them, I believe, has a slop sink.
So there's no shower because I thought I saw on the diagram an abbreviation for shower, but maybe I'm misreading that.
I believe that was a misprint and it was going to be a slop sink because we knew that that would be pushing the confines of them or you guys thinking it may be used as an ADU capacity outside of us stating that they have relayed it won't be.
So, looking at my notes from our last meeting, I think the new plans and the discussion tonight have addressed our major concerns. Paul, were you at the Conservation Commission meeting last week?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there anything of substantive that we should be aware of relative to that meeting?
Not really, just everything that falls in line. They wanted to put wetland signs post-construction, and we'll select or they'll select and walk through with us and find placement of the wetland no dumping signs. And then they just asked that we keep a tight net on staying within the confines of the buffer zones and make sure all of our lumber materials is staged within our scope of work and stay outside of the buffer lines. Those were the two main points that they had kind of driven home throughout the meeting, but other than that, everything went pretty well.
Wonderful, so thank you for that. Do we have any more
You're welcome.
questions from planning board members? Okay, Jasmine, if you would walk through the decision. Thank you. Jasmine? Okay, so I don't know what the problem is there, but to proceed, we all have the preliminary site plan review in front of us. And I think I will just quickly go through the findings, which we need to do because this is a Zoom meeting. So we have a 70 by 78.7 foot barn. The findings are as follows. The application complies with the dimensional requirements for a barn. The existing driveway opening will not be relocated during this construction, and the new parking plan addresses parking and vehicular traffic. The existing parking is adequate to serve the single-family use, and the barn will have no impact on parking or loading, other than its own use. The proposed barn appears to be in kind with the existing property and neighborhood. It's unlikely the structure will have a detrimental impact on surrounding premises, as it is consistent with the neighborhood and applies to all building code requirements. The structure is designed consistent with the character of the neighboring structures. The construction will have impacts on open space and natural landscape, which should be mitigated through Stormwater Bylaw Chapter 159 review by the Department of Public Works. The proposed barn will have impacts on natural resources and open space, and the site is subject to Stormwater Bylaw Chapter 159 review by the Department of Public Works. The proposed structure does not impact town resources, and the proposed barn is proposed on a location on the property that is conducive to the appearance and arrangement of other structures on the lot. And the application complies with the requirements of the zoning bylaws. And I'm sorry, just getting a note from Jasmine that she is signing back on. So Jasmine, are you there now?
I'm here now. Sorry.
Okay, Well, that's okay. I just read through everything except for the actual decision.
Oh, wasn't that convenient? Sorry.
And I know, I think you changed the agreement a little bit. So your timing was perfect. So if you would read the new decision as the motion, then we'll second that and vote on it.
Excellent. So, the new condition that I added was any future proposed accessory dwelling unit on the property must be approved by the town of Dover, including site plan review by the planning board. Condition 2, prior to the issuance of a building permit, minor modifications to the site plan may be approved administratively by the planning board chair. 3, any future modifications to the site shall be reviewed and approved by the planning board. 4, the lighting on site must not spill over onto any adjoining property. 5, the site is subject to review by the Board of Health. 6, the site is subject to Stormwater Bylaw Chapter 159 review by the Department of Public Works.
Okay, do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you. We'll take any further questions before the vote? Okay, we'll take a vote. Val,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
and Carol, yes. Okay, well, Paul and Nick, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, board members. You have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay, before we go on to the next agenda item, before I forget, Jasmine, the April 14th minutes,
Yes.
did you, I couldn't tell whether you had heard my question. The one that you put up still had my comment about the way the minutes reflected the motion. And I didn't know if the minutes had been changed.
I don't believe they have it this time, no.
Okay, in that case, let's hold the minutes till next meeting.
Okay.
And next item on the agenda, item 2E, is the discussion of the MBTA Communities Act draft bylaw and the overlay districts. So following tradition, I will turn this over to Jody.
Jody, do you want screen share capabilities?
Not if, I don't think I need it right this minute. If you can bring up the bylaw when we want to talk about that, I'll just sort of talk through a couple of issues. So as you guys know, we've had now 4 information sessions, and we've done a community survey. We've had about 170-ish, Jasmine might know the exact number, responses to our survey, along with pop-up polling on 2 of our public information sessions to get feedback to the 3 proposed locations. So tonight we have sort of a discussion that needs to be had about the path forward, because we have a lot of sort of administrative timeline issues that we need to be aware of. And the first among those is our strong desire to submit what is called a pre-review application to EOHLC, which is the state body that will be doing this pre-approvals. It's like Executive Office of Living and Housing or something like that. So they have a process that allows us to submit a draft of the bylaw along with the proposed location and a little bit of accompanying materials through a submission process. And they take about 90 days. We hope a little bit less than 90 days, but it's a decently long process. So our goal is to get a packet submitted by May 15th, no later, maybe sooner if we can do it, because that will serve us well. But first, we have to have a draft of the bylaw that is, run through Nina, and we're waiting on her feedback to the current working draft. You all received that draft in the packet, and I'm sure if you took a look at it, you'll note that there's, a lot of commenting going on. I cannot express how much discussion is going into this bylaw, and that's good because it's, really involves a lot of reflection on what's going on in other towns, what we're hearing in our information sessions, what feedback we're getting from residents, from all of you, and we've really tried to collect and distill all of those comments in this process. But we also want to create a bylaw that's, not 25 pages long, and also, most importantly, that will pass approval. Because as you know, when we create a zoning bylaw change, even if it gets approved at town meeting, it still ultimately has to be approved by the Attorney General. So that's like part one of what we need to discuss tonight is any feedback you have to that draft, understanding that it is a work still a bit in progress, but sort of capturing any thoughts you have. The second part is the location. And the location, I think it's fair to say that County Court is the preferred location based upon feedback from our residents. That's pretty obvious from the polling. However, there is some mixed legal opinion as to whether or not EOHLC will in fact approve that location, given that there is a 40B development already in existence on that location. There aren't a lot of examples in towns that have come before us, maybe because most of them are bigger and they tend to have multiple locations for their overlay zoning districts as opposed to one location, which is what we will have in Dover. So I think the question to start with tonight is to get some feedback from all of you on where we stand as a board. We're not voting tonight because this isn't a public, meeting with the proper notifications, and plus we don't need a vote at this point. But we would love your feedback before we submit to this pre-review process, because we want to have a sense for whether we are all in agreement that based upon what we've learned, County Court is the preferred location in response to citizen feedback. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's my preferred location or Carol's or yours, but we're trying to collectively make this decision so that we can get to town meeting with something that we have a reasonable level of confidence will pass, recognizing that, we don't know until we get to town meeting. So I think I'll stop there and just ask for the first mini discussion here to focus on site selection and to get your feedback to what you think, what you've heard. If you had a chance to watch one or more of our information sessions or submit your answer to the poll, sort of how do you feel as we continue forward here, recognizing that, we've gotten pretty clear feedback from the town. Does anybody want to start?
Jody, I was at, let me say, I missed this last public session because I was away, but I'm assuming that you did the same surveys as the first one, or were there different survey questions?
The survey never changed. So
Okay.
the survey has been in the field since early March, and it's like slowed to a trickle, the responses, but the pop-up polls that we did were exactly the same. And we don't combine that information. We have sort of like two pieces of feedback.
And I know in the meeting that I did attend, County Court was definitely, it polled higher than the others. But I know that there was also a little bit of pushback as well. And I didn't know if you've had a chance to talk with any of those folks who had concerns.
We haven't talked specifically with them, but what we did do was we've gotten feedback from Nina Pickering Cook, regarding some of the sort of broad issues that were raised. Like we cannot scope out what if scenarios on what a developer would do. But what we did ask Nina to do, and in fact, Katie Williams here was a big help. Nina and Katie have gone through the docs for each of the two 40B developments with the goal of determining, is there anything in the covenant docs or in the, condo docs that would be prohibitive legally to a developer coming in? And I think the takeaway, as I understand it, and Carol or Jasmine or Katie, please let me know if you think I'm misunderstanding that there isn't anything. It's a complicated process. I don't think there's a whole lot of case law for a developer coming in and trying to sort of extinguish affordable housing through a deed. And as I understand it, a developer would need to come in and buy enough units, presumably 50% plus one, to control the condo association, and then try to attempt to do this. And so market forces are the likely barrier, according to Nina, just because that's sort of a condo association sort of would presumably be a gating factor here. So we really can't get into scoping out or gamifying, like, what if the developer did this? What if we did that? Because A, we don't have the skill set, and B, it's kind of out of the scope of how we can approach this. But that was the work we did following the first information session. Interestingly enough, nobody asked us about that at the second info session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Similar
Good
to Val's question, have you heard, what's the sort of, if any, pushback on, you know, putting it at any of the other possible locations, you know, Junction Street in particular,
Yeah.
or maybe the Meadows?
Yeah. Yeah, we've gotten, you know, it seems it's interesting to me because people are saying things like they really don't want to change the green space along Junction Street, or they're concerned about traffic or safety near the hospital. We've gotten sort of consistent comments like, I don't like any of these, or I don't like this one because it's not near any public transportation, but like nothing's near public transportation for us in this world. So, you know, I think some of it is just philosophically not wanting development in any of these locations. We've tried to be pretty thoughtful about how we communicate about these locations because, you know, we're legally required here to move forward with compliance, and, you know, to get up and be like, well, if you did it here, this one, you know, we have to not always say, you know, exactly what we might think about one or more locations, but try to be consistent in how we communicate about all three and focus on unit capacity requirements, the minimum size, you know, the standardization of the design standards or the building standards. So I can't tell you that I have a good sense about, like, broadly speaking, whether Dover supports the idea of multifamily housing by right. I would say that my gut is that I don't even know if I have a gut about that, but I would say that the fact that people don't want it at Junction Street, according to the, not don't, but the, you know, more people don't want it at Junction Street, tells me something about that, because I think if people really wanted multifamily housing by right in Dover, Junction Street would be a place that would resonate. But it's really complicated because people have good questions about, you know, well, there's no water. We had a woman who asked us at the second information section, like, this feels like sort of a straw man, like you're just putting a overlay district somewhere, but the state and you all don't really want the housing. And, you know, it's hard to answer that comment because the state does seem to want the zoning to exist, even though, based upon some of the smaller rural towns not having water and sewer infrastructure, they know that there's a lot of barriers to the development, but their interest is really just changing the zoning. And then maybe presumably eventually some of the other things will resolve themselves from a development perspective. But ultimately we kept saying, like, this is a requirement to zone by the town of Dover, not a requirement to have conditions where buildability is actually likely or possible. You know, that's sort of not what zoning is. If that answers the question. I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
that's helpful, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of sets to it, obviously, and the sort of realisticness of it is different
Yeah.
than being actually asked here. So yeah, I understood. I know.
I think one of the tricky things that I'm like, what I'm worried about is that we are going to, you know, the plan would be to submit County Court as our preferred site location. It may get approved, and that would make life really easy because I think we do have, you know, momentum in that direction, at least from what we have heard from residents thus far. If it doesn't get approved because they will disallow an overlay district being right on top of an existing 40B development, that cuts out both County Court and the Meadows, and we are left with Junction Street, and we're going to have to go back and explain that. And that will be, you know, we tried to tee that possibility up at our last info session, but that will be complicated.
Understood. Thanks.
Jody, I know at the session that I attended, you had asked or suggested that people provide feedback if there's other sites
Yeah.
that were not on the list. Did anyone respond with other sites?
Nothing specific. All we got was there's lots of space on Walpole Street, or like people sort of broadly wanted it elsewhere, but we didn't get any specific feedback after those two information sessions. And in fact, we didn't get any through the survey either. We had one idea raised earlier, but it wasn't included in our parcels that it was after, I believe it was after the survey had gone out, the location itself. So we haven't gone back to it. So no, it has not been a situation where we're getting lots of ideas from homeowners, which is actually too bad, because I tried to tee that up, as like, this is kind of another, thing you could have in your home,
Mhm.
but that I don't think people really either picked up on that or agreed.
But interestingly enough, so Sherburne, even though they're not required to have this done until the end of the year as well, they are bringing this up at their town meeting on Monday. Or actually tomorrow, I'm sorry, the 29th, tomorrow. And I spoke at length with the town planner there last week or the week before. And they had the executors of a 21-acre parcel come to the planning board and ask if their land could be the overlay district. It's part of an estate. The kids don't want it. They're going to be selling it. And as Jody has talked about all along, they viewed having this zoned as an overlay district as another option for a potential buyer. So they'll be going to town meeting with that parcel. The other thing that was done at last week's info session was that the financial piece, talking about the grants and the impact on the town and tax rates and so forth, was done by Robin Hunter. So she and Mike Blanchard and the finance team spent some time trying to make some assessment as to ballpark of what losing about $1 million a year in grant money would mean to tax rates and so forth. So there are new slides there. They should be up on the website shortly if they're not already there. You might want to take a look at those. And Robin, as would be expected, did a fantastic presentation there. So she will do the same at the special town meeting and handle the financial piece.
Anything else? Any other? I really do appreciate the questions. It's a bit of it's a pretzel. And one of the things that I don't believe we can submit multiple locations in the pre-review process. And we've even toyed with, like, is a better strategy to submit both locations or all three locations. But we're trying to keep like the vote in mind. Like, if we submit both, I feel like that will encourage, a different way of evaluating our application than if we submit the one. But it is a little bit of a risk, because we will find ourselves closer to the special town meeting if they come back and deny us, having to go back and explain that process.
And correct me if I'm misunderstanding, but you're saying if they reject county court, if the state rejects county court, then they also reject the Dover Farm and what's the other one?
Dover Farms is not under consideration. We took it out of the consideration set.
Okay,
Because it's
okay.
too small to stand alone, but Meadows. And
Meadows, yeah.
I mean, I guess, that's an assumption, but if they turn down county court, then I would assume that the reasons would apply also to the Meadows, which is also a 40B development.
And there's nothing that you're aware of that would lead you to believe that the state would turn down Junction Street, right? I mean, that's just a big open parcel, so there shouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, it should be compliant. It meets the compliance model.
Right.
I mean, gosh, Geez, that would be really something to me because I don't, I don't fully understand outside of meeting the compliance model what
Yeah.
framework they're actually using to evaluate. And obviously we will learn that, but we shall see, Um,
I mean, the good news is that both Jeff and Nina, have been working with other towns on these. There haven't been a lot of small adjacent towns that have submitted yet because we have until December 31st. And actually, there was a comment and question at last week's info session. A gentleman was quoting some numbers that implied that there are many, many towns who are objecting to this and not doing what they need to do. And we actually had our consultant look into it, and numbers can be misleading because this is a very specific process. So you really have to segment the numbers correctly to understand what's really being rejected versus what's in process in this phase or that phase and so forth.
Yeah.
But Jeff did make the comment that to his knowledge in talking to EOHLC, I think it was that only 2 adjacent towns had actually submitted pre-reviews at this point. So obviously EOHLC is going to be very busy over the next 9 to 120 days as Dover and other small adjacent towns do fall either town meetings or special town meetings to get this done.
And we've also been given a little bit of advice that, they've got a lot of fish to fry. This is a, this is a really big initiative they've taken on, and Dover is not going to be, the hotbed of housing development. And so we may be a town that they will, want to push through. We're really making a very good faith effort to comply here. And so making it harder for us is not necessarily in their interest. That may or may not be true. I don't know, but we're trying to weigh those things. There's other towns that are, going to have equal, like you could just say, oh, well, there's no water available and there's no sewer available. So therefore, that is going to be really hard to build. So we can't choose that. Like that wouldn't make any sense either. They're going to have a very similar problem with lots of different locations that are coming down the pike for these small adjacent towns. And we just didn't feel comfortable, cherry picking somebody's property. Like I don't know. We've, the owner of the property on Junction Street has been contacted. Bill, thank you for doing that. And, we'll continue to communicate with him if we get there. But picking random residences on Walpole Street and trying to back into appropriate locations is like, I don't know. That feels like not the right way to go about it.
Right.
So I guess the question at hand then is, where are you guys comfortable as a board if we move forward with the county court location with our pre-review? And then as soon as we get the feedback from EOHLC, we'll either, continue on that marching path because it's gone through pre-review with a positive outcome, or we're going to have to scramble a little bit. And I just want to determine if you think that's the better strategy versus choosing the Junction Street location despite what we've heard in the resident feedback piece of this initiative.
So it's not a formal vote. So why don't we
No,
just
it's not a formal vote. I'd just love to hear your thoughts.
exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think that I would be inclined to support county court and go with what the public is currently supporting.
I agree.
Bill?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
It's hard. It's a hard decision. I know. It's like, or not even a decision. It's just like one strategy, like a strategy we're sort of discussing here versus we have to go through the resident input part of this, like in a weird way, like you put things out. It's like once you put it out, we really wanted that feedback and we got it, and so I feel like we have to at least really do our very best to run that one down.
We've had, as Jody said, we've had over 170 survey results. We had we've done 4 sessions. We had one with the COA, then the 2 public information sessions, and then 1 info session with boards and committees. And, we've had over 125 people attend those as well. So those numbers for Dover, I think, are good numbers.
We also have been, every single month, I think we missed one, promoting our MBTA webpage where we continue to update information, post our info sessions. We're really, we're working it. We will have a flyer distributed at town meeting next Monday night, which will have a QR code bouncing people to our info page. We're planning on obviously continued conversation all summer, and ultimately a packet of information that will be mailed to every home in Dover about this before the special town meeting. So there's a lot going on with very proactive outreach to the community on this really important topic, and we do our best to get it in front of everybody.
So Jody has put together a very, very detailed action plan at a very granular level. But basically, our hope is, and we will, first of all, we will be reviewing this with the selectmen on May 29th at their selectmen's meeting. And we'll present the timeline. But the plan right now is to hold probably the week of August 18th, because we actually already have a planning board meeting. Our August meeting is scheduled for August 18th. For all the boards and committees, so they can hear. Hopefully by then we'll have response from the state. We'll know about the overlay district itself, and we'll have input on the details of the bylaws as well, so that we will be able to present to them, here's what it is, and give them the information they need to then hold their own meetings and hopefully vote to support this, with the idea that instead of a blue book, we will use what we did actually for 46 Springdale when we acquired that, which is what we called it an executive summary. And it'll be a 2 or 3 page document that will be sent out to every household after the September 8th public hearing. That presents the background, how we got to where we got to, why we're making the suggestions we are. So it'll serve the sort of the same function as the blue book, or the same function as the actual slide presentation, which of course will also be given at the special town meeting also. So the warrant committee has agreed to that approach of allowing the planning board to do the executive summary. They'll insert a comment into the executive summary, as will the Board of Selectmen. So that's the general communication plan right now.
And that's the one that will go out right after Labor Day to mail to every household.
After the public hearing.
Oh, after the public hearing, right?
After the public hearing. And we're hoping, there's been some request to do an in-person information session.
Yeah.
So if all goes according to plan, we will actually have the technology in the new community center to do a good hybrid meeting. So if that gets all in place during the summer, then we will do a hybrid public hearing on September 8th.
Yeah, if you could mark your calendars for September 8th and September 29th. Those are 2 important ones.
And then the second town meeting, in case we need a second town meeting, is November 17th.
Really seriously hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Just shoot us.
Katie, anything you want to add? Because I didn't hear you weigh in on the county court location.
Oh, yeah, no, I think to me, it's the right decision. And in my mind, it's the only decision. So I'm actually anxious to have them submit it, because I would like to see if it is
Yeah,
not
me too.
approved. I would love to read the reasons why. It doesn't seem
Yeah,
like
me
any.
too.
So to me, it fits. It seems perfect. Everything else seems imperfect. So.
Yeah, and it feels like it will be interesting to see, like I keep saying, well, what's the framework they'll use? Like, and so if in the absence of a framework, if it fits all the other components that we've been told compliance needs, then in my opinion, they got to approve it. But I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but okay. So with that in mind,
Tom here hasn't offered up his house.
What did you say?
I'm surprised Tom here hasn't offered up his house.
Middle neighborhood. So the next item then is the draft bylaw itself. And I'm sure that you all agree that drafting a bylaw together is not the ideal scenario, but I hope you had a chance to look at it. And if, Jasmine, if you don't mind bringing it up, if you want to, if it jogs your memory, if there's anything, we left the comments in there and wanted you to see some of the back and forth that's happening. Jeff, who's noted in the comments of the document you received, is our consultant from Horsley Witten. Obviously Nina, Carol, Jasmine's weighed in. It's like a whole thing. And so we're trying to collect and keep comments here and get feedback so that you had a little bit of context for some of the issues. A lot of this, truthfully, is we looked at Sherburne's bylaw that they're bringing to their town meeting. And so we thought, okay, this has been through the pre-review process with EOHLC. And so a lot of the components of it are, lifted right from, but just like tweaked for Dover's needs, but like format and some of those things we've evolved to more closely follow Sherburne's process, like outline. And that's sort of baked into this most updated version. Nina's was on vacation, school vacation last week, so she promised us a review of it at the beginning of this week. So I will be bugging her about that tomorrow. But as you reviewed it, if there's any questions you had or comments you want to raise, or if you want to just send us an email, Carol, Jasmine, and I, about anything that strikes you, that's another way for us to capture your comments. We won't sit and type here, but would really appreciate you taking a look at it if you haven't had a chance to already. I can walk through sort of, very broadly what we see here. Gosh, I can control the screen. How's that possible? I guess that's just my screen. Purpose, nothing there. Establishment and applicability is kind of like the broad strokes. That's section B, Jasmine, just up above. The underlying zoning stays in force. This is where you can put multifamily housing. We can't have partial lots inside of our overlay district. We will add the overlay district site location for clarity here. We may put some density language there, but probably not, as Jeff is recommending it go elsewhere. And one of the things we're trying to do in the yellow is with an eye towards Junction Street. One of the things about Junction Street is that it could actually hold more than 102 units, which is the requirement, just baseline compliance modeling. That doesn't mean that's exactly what a developer could ultimately put in, but the compliance models says it could hold more. So we're trying to find language potentially that would cap the number of units at the required number of units for Dover, which is 102. We're considering adding a definition section just to be super duper clear. Some feedback is, well, these terms are elsewhere in the zoning bylaw, defined elsewhere. You don't need to do it here, but maybe there's an argument Sherburne does it. They have a very extensive definition section, and we don't want to necessarily do that, but that's something we're working on. Permitted uses is just saying that it's by right with site plan review. Then we have the dimensional and building requirements, which, actually that's been kind of the easy part because those were pulled from our existing multifamily bylaw, and we've used those for the compliance modeling, and nobody's pushing back on that. We've got a few other components that we're considering adding in, things like minimum of 32 feet between residential buildings on each lot. Architectural themes, we're kind of in discussion with Nina about how much we can push on some of the sort of look stuff. And my opinion is that all they can do is say we can't do it, but we may as well, try and have made an effort to incorporate some of the language that feels, a little bit more protective of Dover in terms of the look and feel, but we may get dinged on that. If you could continue to go down, just a little back and forth on the density stuff. Then we have a section on development standards, things like landscaping, as you can see, and parking and some other stuff. If you could just scroll down. And, you know, we've had Walter review all this, off-street parking requirements, access requirements to the development district, because that's sort of you know, parking and access to your own housing unit, but also access to the development district as a whole. Internal circulation, some of these things, site design, lighting, we've got, you know, some requirements on lighting. And then we just having, of course, double down on the site plan review component, and that the site plan review process would follow 185-36. And then some of this is just legal stuff that we have to include in a bylaw. So those are the issues that we're, you know, following. I think it's like 4 pages. Might get cut a little more after Nina's review, we shall see, but we're doing our best to try to, you know, push for the idea that we want to be as compliant as we need to be by law, but as protective of Dover as we can be by law. And that's what we're trying to navigate here, and also why the pre-review process will be helpful. So if anybody has any feedback they want to share tonight, or just shoot us an email or whatever works for you. But hopefully
Lydia,
soon.
I just have a quick question. And I might have missed it. Is there any, and maybe we can't do this, requirement for like a playground or like outdoor community space on that development?
We don't have any requirement for that here in this bylaw. Carol?
I
do you
don't
remember
think
what
we
talked
could
about?
actually,
No?
because
I
we
don't think we
generally
can.
can't do something that's more restrictive than what we already
That's it.
allow.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
We don't
Okay.
have that anywhere. It's not in our subdivision
Exactly.
bylaw.
Yeah. That's the
Okay.
parity thing. It's a good question though, Val. Like if we can't put in requirements that, it's like saying we can't tell you what your house you build on your single family lot has to
Sure.
be made of brick. So we can't
Okay,
require
yeah.
that on
Okay.
a multifamily.
So,
And then does-
like the, oh, sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, does that go the same for like EV chargers for parking? Like we can require a certain number of parking locations, but you can't specify if one has to be EV or anything like that. Is that right? Okay.
Just, I guess my follow-up would just be, if we can't require sort of, if we can't make things more restrictive or something that isn't a current bylaw, I guess, where do the landscaping requirements that are in there fit in with that? Because that requires sort of native plantings and things like that.
I think it's because we have it elsewhere in our bylaw. Jasmine, do you agree with that response?
Yes, it is elsewhere in the bylaw. So it's either in the multifamily or under the site plan review. That's already in there existing. So we didn't create that language. We did pull that from existing language.
That was actually a really great idea that Jeff, our consultant, started us off with. Was we're kind of lucky. We have this multifamily bylaw on the books in Dover. It's like really not used because it's so onerous, but at least it's on the books and it's been passed. So it gives us something to pull from and pull into this one.
I mean,
Yeah, that seems really good. And honestly, I didn't think the MDU was that specific in the requirements, but the fact it's there, it gives us a nice, you know, kind of playbook to use if we need to.
the subdivision bylaw actually has a listing quite extensively of allowed trees and so forth. You know, it's horribly out of date. And it's irrelevant, really irrelevant, but it gave us the opportunity to put the clause in about the state's current list of native plantings. Because we already had something in the subdivision bylaw.
That's interesting.
This is a great conversation though, Carol, because when we get closer to special town meeting, we should have a list of where in the larger bylaws some of this stuff come from. Because somebody will say, well, why can't we have this? But we
Right.
can have that, you know, so that would be
Yep.
helpful.
Yep.
So, you have it. We're gonna get some feedback from Nina, hopefully in the next day or two, and we're gonna try to wrap this up. Our goal is May 15th for submission, but if we can get it done sooner, we will. So we'll keep you posted on that. So if you could get us any of your specific questions or concerns about the bylaw in the next day or two, that would be super helpful. if you think we're
Once-
missing
once the-
anything or.
Once we get your input and Nina's input, then it quickly goes to Jeff for his final review as well. Hopefully there won't be too much of a discussion between Jeff and Nina.
Yeah.
And then the resulting draft is the one that we'll submit.
Other towns, including Sherburne, have gone through pre-review and been denied their bylaws specifically. I found it on their town website. Like they sent in their first draft and then they came back and they said, you can't do this, you can't do that, and here's why. And then they were able to change it and submit again. So it's a good process for us. And it allows us to be able to really advocate for what we want, even though we might not get everything we want. But at least we can explain that we're really working hard to do that. So
Okay,
with that, great. Thank you for your input
Okay.
for those questions and really appreciate it if you have any other feedback for us.
Thank you for all your work, Jody.
Yeah.
yep.
Lots.
Thanks, Jody.
All of us, it's been
Yeah.
very
A
much
lot
a
you've
project.
put into this.
We're
Those-
getting there.
Those 4 pages of bylaws don't come close to reflecting the hours and hours of conversation to this. Anyway, on to the next. Jasmine, anything town planner update that we haven't talked about?
Not that I can recall. I haven't heard anything about that potential A&R, so I don't think I have any new applications upcoming or town meeting is obviously the next closest thing, so just trying to get the MBTA flyers, ready and printed before then, and any feedback on the MBTA bylaw as soon as we can, so we can submit that before the 15th, like
Great.
Jody said.
Okay, thank you. I'm just looking at the agenda and I realized for some reason our next meeting date of May 19th didn't end up on the upcoming meeting dates, though it was on the last meeting's agenda. So so we do have May 19th down, but that makes me realize that Jasmine's last day is May 15th. So we'll see, we have our town meeting date, which we always set just in case we have to meet prior to town meeting that evening to do something, which we've had to do in the past. Hopefully we won't this time. But I hope you'll all come to town meeting, and Jasmine, I hope you'll be at town meeting so we can say a face-to-face goodbye.
Absolutely. Thank you guys
Okay.
so much.
On that note, we did post the position in various spots within the Commonwealth. It's being coordinated by Robin Ticino, our HR director, and we have 5 applications. So Jody and I and Robin will be going through those and setting up some interviews and so forth. And we'll see how that plays out. And I'm hoping to find a person on an interim basis as well. So stay tuned on that information, because I don't know how long it's going to take. But we're working on it. Val, do you have anything on trees?
Yeah, so Friday was Arbor Day. And the selectmen had completed a proclamation. So our community celebrated on Arbor Day, and we're also celebrating all this week because it was a little tough since so many people are away this past week with the school break. So tomorrow there is an event at the library for children, and Thursday, Chickering will be celebrating. And then Friday, we have a seedling giveaway that we will be doing. On Friday, it will be at the DPW, and that will be in the morning. I believe 10 to noon is what Kevin was planning to give those away at the town garage. And then on Saturday, we will give whatever remaining seedlings we have. We will give those away at the transfer station. And so as soon as the transfer station opens, we'll make them available, and they will continue to be available until they're gone. If anyone is interested in helping to bag the seedlings, we're going to do that Thursday morning from 10 until noon or 1, however long it takes us. There's 300 seedlings. some of them will come pre-bagged, I think maybe like 100 of them come pre-bagged. So I think we just have to bag 200, which last year we had to bag 500. So that's not so bad this year. So if anyone is available, please let me know because we would love more volunteers. And then also, if anyone would like to help hand out the seedlings at the transfer station on Saturday, let me know if there's any hours or time that you're able to lend. And that would be great.
Sounds great.
Which trees are they, out of curiosity?
Yes, there is a Fraser fir, there's a white oak, and there's lilac.
Did you say lilac?
Yeah, mhm,
That's so
Yep.
cool.
And I believe once again, Eversource is donating some trees to Dover. Is that right?
I believe so. I haven't spoken with Kevin to get how many they're going to donate, but I believe that that's the plan for this year again.
Wonderful.
Great.
Excellent.
Work out.
Thank you, Val.
Okay, folks, if there aren't any other questions, then, yes, absolutely right. The dog's ready to go out. So on that note,
Hey.
yes, George.
Just really quick, and maybe this isn't the forum for that, but since we were speaking about it earlier, and this is our last meeting before town meeting, just wanted to confirm for the Wilson's Way easement, if those letters were sent out to
Right.
the sent out to those property owners. The fact that they were going to have to, they're going to have to sign those documents after the meeting at some point, I guess within a week or two.
So Jasmine, I discussed that with Jasmine today. And Sue's not in today. So Jasmine's gonna be checking with Sue. Sue
Okay.
is, Sue, are you on? I thought she was on. She's showing up as an attendee.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so, oh, there we go. Sue, can you hear us? Because you're now allowed to, you are now allowed to talk. There you go.
Oh, great. Yes, they have gone out.
Okay. Do we know about when? Just out of curiosity.
I can give you a date tomorrow, George. I
Okay.
have the receipts.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So there, at the moderators meeting at 6:30 today, there were some changes, requested of our presentations for a couple of our articles. Jim Rapetti is interested in finding more ways to streamline, and shorten the time of the town meeting. So there are a couple of articles where, he doesn't want to go through all the slides. So I will, Jasmine, I'll stop by the office tomorrow morning and we could quickly make some adjustments and then you can get them to
Okay.
Chris.
That would be
Um,
great.
And Nina wants to have red line of all the changes of all the bylaws, available to show as well. So, we'll talk about that tomorrow morning.
Okay, I've already got all of those because I had them, Felicia had both copies on file with her, the red line and the new drafts.
Yeah, I think on some of them, we just want to sort of cut and paste and put all the red lines in just on one page instead of 4 or 5 pages of.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and Nina said that would be okay to do.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but anyway, we'll work on that tomorrow. I have a 10 o'clock meeting in Sherburne, so maybe after that, 10:30, 10:45. So with that, I move to adjourn the meeting at 8:15. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, go yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, everyone, Monday, town meeting. Town meeting starts at 7. It would be great if maybe we could all meet in the cafeteria there around 6:30 if you guys can make it.